Welcome to the Functional Aging and Mindfulness for Seniors Nutrition Program, Module 6, Processed Foods, Fat and Salt. Previously, we discussed processed foods and the different categories including minimally processed foods, which are those with added vitamins, minerals, cut or packaged for purchase or convenience, moderately processed foods, those which contain common ingredients used in cooking such as sugars, oils, and salt, and highly processed foods, which often contain saturated or trans fats, fillers, or artificial ingredients, and are likely to be created for immediate consumption or with minimal preparation. It was noted that processed foods aren't all bad, but choosing whole foods first will help shape optimal MyPlate meals. A good rule to follow is that if it's made from a plant, eat it. If it's made in a plant, eat less of it. Now, let's focus on an often misunderstood nutrient, fats. Fats have a bad reputation. However, they are actually quite essential for a variety of bodily functions. For instance, they're vital to human beings as they help supply calories for energy. Fats are also essential for our bodies to be able to absorb certain vitamins, including vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. Some other essential things healthy fats do for our bodies include the maintenance of healthy skin and providing insulation for our body organs. Fat helps us regulate our body temperature and promotes healthy cell function as well. Fats in our foods taste good and make our food more palatable. And based on how our body digests them, they can remain in our stomach for up to 4 hours, helping us control hunger and food cravings. Now that we've established that fats have good qualities, which fats are the best ones to choose with our meals? Some healthy options include olive oil, grapeseed oil, sunflower oil, sesame oil, and others. In addition to the useful energy, these oils can also contain polyphenols and vitamin E to help with antioxidation. Choosing healthy oils from fruits, seeds, and nuts rather than butter or margarine can also help you reduce the amount of saturated and trans fats in your diet. You may already be aware that high cholesterol levels can be linked to heart disease, so moderating fat intake is important. It's also important to know that our personal cholesterol levels represent that which our body produces and not necessarily that which we consume from the foods we eat. Therefore, it's essential to get the recommended amount of dietary fat. However, we want to be careful to avoid consuming an excessive amount of fat, especially from those types which are not healthy. Moderately and highly processed foods frequently contain unhealthy fats. Typically, fats that are solid contain more saturated fats or trans fats. These are likely to raise bad blood cholesterol, which can increase the risk of heart disease. Saturated fats are those found in foods that come from animals. These foods include meat, full-fat dairy products, poultry skin, butter, and lard. Trans fats are fats that are made from liquid oils and made solid through a chemical process. These fats are found in solid shortening, many snack foods, and prepackaged baked goods. With processed foods, the total amount of fat the item contains will be identified on a package label. The amount of saturated and trans fats will be specifically listed to help you be aware of how much of the less healthy fat is contained in the food. In this example, the saturated fat contained in the food is 1.5 grams and there is 0 grams of trans fat included. Because the total amount of fat in the food is 4 grams, you can assume the difference of 2.5 grams to be from better sources of fat. About 70 to 75% of adults exceed the recommendations on saturated fat, and this can increase the likelihood of coronary heart disease with age. So staying within saturated fat limits and replacing saturated fat with unsaturated fat is particularly important during this life stage. Strategies to reduce saturated fat include choosing lean meats and low-fat cheese, or substituting beans for meat, and using avocado or nuts instead of cheese. Cooking with oils like canola, corn, or olive instead of butter can also reduce intake of saturated fat. Consuming excess saturated fat can also make you gain weight. Oils and solid fats are both high in calories at about 120 per tablespoon. Replacing foods high in saturated fat such as butter, whole milk, cheese, and baked goods with foods higher in unsaturated fat found in plants and fish, such as vegetable oils, peanuts, avocado, and salmon, is both a good way to get the essential nutrients you need and avoid the others you don't. Now, let's shift our attention to another common substance added to processed foods, sodium. Sodium, or rather salt intake, is especially important for aging adults to be considerate of. Typically, the more processed a food is, the greater the likelihood that it has excessive amounts of salt added. Approximately 45% of adults aged 18 and older are living with high blood pressure, and during adulthood, the prevalence of high blood pressure steadily increases. Changing this trend is important because high blood pressure is a preventable risk factor for cardiovascular disease and stroke. Reducing dietary intake of sodium can improve blood pressure control and reduce the risk of hypertension. Adults should keep their daily total of sodium intake to 2,300 milligrams a day or less, which is equivalent to 1 teaspoon. Consuming excessive sodium can occur if we are eating a lot of foods which are packaged, boxed, or canned. Paying close attention to the added salt listed on the package labels can help you be assured that you are not over-consuming this substance. Look for canned vegetables labeled "No added salt." Be mindful of how much sauce, gravy, salsa, ketchup, soy sauce, marinade, or dressing you're using as well. The sodium from these can add up very quickly. To make your food more flavorful, you may want to use fresh or dried herbs and spices instead of salt. Be sure to pick up spice blends that do not list salt or sodium on the ingredient list. By focusing on consuming whole foods over processed foods, we can keep excess salt and other unhealthy substances out of our meals. This week's mindful prompt is relief. The vitamins and minerals in your food help to provide relief from the stresses placed upon the body. Please let your gaze soften or close your eyes and take the next 2 minutes to sit quietly and reflect on the relief that your body receives from the nutrients that it derives from food. When you hear the sound of the gong, please begin. When you hear the gong again, today's mindful moment will be finished.